What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Yield Today with Dallin, Candland. Today is my birthday. I'm really pumped to share some thoughts and ideas that are on my mind that I hope will be helpful and give you some perspective. As always on this show, we talk about building our self care, learning about ourselves and the world around us while potentially building a business. I share thoughts that I have about life and things I'm doing as I try to build this little business of my own. And at the same time, I interview people that have already done it. So if you have interest in that, definitely follow the podcast and leave a review. I would love that. And it'd be a great birthday present too. Wink. Anyway, let's just jump right in. I have a lot of thoughts today. It's interesting because the pandemic happened and I wanted to get back into running and I did pretty good at that. And then, I don't know, if you have too many targets, it's really hard to hit all of them. You could be so good at hitting one target, but if you add in like 500 targets, it's kind of like when I don't know, there's all those different video games, there's different things when a guy like splits themselves up into seven things and you have to know which one to go for and they're all there and they all seem just as important. But you need to be very careful and you need to have goals and perspective and vision to be like, okay, this is no longer important. I am going after this thing. And last night I kind of broke it down a little bit and was like, okay, I'm going to work on this part of my life, and this part is going to come later. There's a time and a place for this. And that's kind of my plan. We plan, God laughs, but I'm going to try it anyway. You know, it's interesting because we try things and they don't always go as planned. But I am really thankful for the things that I have tried, the people I have reached out to on the podcast. And so that's why in the next year, I really want to put myself more out there. I feel like I've been leaning on the pod match a lot, like too much. Like people reach out to me and I make that feel like, ooh, this is me. I'm so good. No, it's because I got into the game early and I have pretty good clout on there relatively. And so people reach out to me and stuff on there and it's kind of a funnel. I look on there, I think this past week I've gotten 3 or 4 interview invitations. And as I've gotten more clear of what I want for this podcast, what direction I want it to take me and where I want it to take the listeners, I've said no to more interviews recently. And it's kind of tough because I'm the kind of guy I just want people to have their voices heard and I want to help them. But the thing is there's times when somebody's message just doesn't help you and it's not going to lead you forward. And it makes me think of the opportunity cost. And this is something that's been on my mind, especially recently. You know, I could talk to this random guy on the street and then maybe it'd be cool and he could talk my ear off. Or I could talk to like my best friend Clark and that would be way better. Although I love talking to strangers, I love the fact I could just meet my like a best friend or something as a stranger or something. That's cool. But there's also the opportunity cost and there's also the fact that until I actually get to know somebody, a lot of people they want to be on your good side initially and you don't really know. Lately I've seen that with just different stuff. You can assume one thing, you can assume all these wonderful things about somebody, and then later on, the fruits become evident. The harvest comes, and you get a much better idea of who you've been talking to, who you've been dealing with, I guess. And I think that's another really good thing to keep in mind. Another thing that's on my mind too is just the need to be honest with yourself, what you're actually working on. And I believe like having a way to check in with yourself is really crucial. I've been using a thing on my Evernote called timeouts where I just ask myself some questions. I've been doing that with weekly reviews, like how I do at the end of the week. And I think that's really helpful, but it needs to be intentional and it can't be like forced. It needs to be an enjoyed part of the process. And I know this is kind of all over the place, but that's sort of the point because it's a birthday episode. I'm trying to have more fun with my routine because it's easy to just move on from thing to thing and you don't really get much out of it. And so, something I'm really focusing on for the next year for sure is just doing more things that give me energy beginning of the day. Like running, I went on a run this morning, so that was good. But I'd like to do a little bit more writing every day. And I think that's honestly something I'm going to focus on for a while before I launch all this other stuff and make all these large promises. I'm just going to focus on writing, just focus on myself, and just work really diligently behind the scenes and not get too stressed. Because, it's really great when you have something and you're working on it, but it can get really stressful when You have an internship. I don't have an internship, but I'm going to have an internship in the next month or so. You have 15 credits. You're working at Pizza Hut. You know, you have all these different things that you want to do. And for you, whatever it is you want to do. And again, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, like the target thing. Everything seems super important, until you can break it down and be like, all right, what is this actually leading to? What is the big picture of this thing? And I think when you can ask yourself that question, it really gives you some perspective for where you want to head in the near future. Another real quick thing that's on my mind too is about how we can get things that are easy, but easy is not necessarily good. Usually it's not good. And kind of going back to the pod match thing, like a lot of people are pitching themselves to be on the podcast, and a lot of them are really solid, but some of them it's not so much. And I mean, I think of like relationships I already have with different people, and I'd probably have better interviews with them generally. That'd take more effort to kind of, rekindle that relationship. Kind of what we talked about 2 episodes ago about the crossroads and making a difference and pouring fire or pouring gasoline on the best opportunities in our lives, kind of that thing. But it would probably lead to a better outcome. And it's easy to run in circles and not really get anywhere, not really grow. And I feel like that's kind of what's happened with the podcast a little bit, which is sad. But it's also really good to be able to take a step back and be like, all right, well, this is what we've been doing. This is what we've accomplished. Like, we've been able to put out 2 episodes every week, and we're trying to put out 3 episodes this week. Is it possible? And that's honestly one of the most thrilling questions for me. I have a lot of other stuff I'd like to do today because it's my birthday, but ultimately we're bound by time. And I think with time, it's just really like hard to tell like how long something's actually gonna take. And so planning in more buffer time is something I would like to do, get a little bit better at that. Just make sure that I'm not overstretching myself. And another thing on time is just how powerful taking like 25 minutes to dig super deep on something just to get like the initial thing going. And this makes a ton of sense to me because like working at the potato farm, we could usually make a ton of progress in like 10-15 minutes, but it's usually like the last couple minutes that you're able to get all the nuggets. But you can get pretty far in those first 5 minutes, that first fraction of the time. And then when you go back to it, it's already worked on. You're not going to get super tired digging super duper hard. And this is what I've been trying to do with my homework assignments, because the goal is to not start from zero ever. I want to start from like 1% or 2%, preferably like 20 or 30%, like a couple days before things even due. And that just makes things a lot easier. And it gives you time, and time is so ridiculously valuable. You're giving your time to listen to my voice right now, and I really hope it's actually being beneficial in some way. For me, like, I'm trying to plan out this podcast ahead so I can devote more time to an internship, because I kind of saw that, looking back, I kind of see that as more of a liability from last year. Because you can be like, yeah, I have a podcast, so it's like, well, we want the very best out of you. So how can we expect to get that if you already have this project? So I'm planning to get the whole podcast recorded and uploaded and stuff for the next couple months by the end of the semester, which will take a lot of work. It's so much easier said than done, but it is still possible. The last thing I really want to say is the need for taking time for yourself and reflection. So with taking time for yourself, last semester, I didn't play any video games, and the idea of that was to spend more time working and stuff, and it kind of worked. I more or less worked myself into the ground, and it was not good. This semester, I've been taking like little video game breaks here and there, and it's helped me be in a better mood when I go to work. At Pizza Hut, I still have like some video game music from Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freezing. It's just like, it's just great. It's just awesome. And just it's me, it's what I need. It helps me, so just addressing the current needs at the time is super needed. So taking that time for yourself is really important, and treating yourself is also super huge. What was it reflection. Okay. And then with reflection too, I've been re-listening to old audio journals and they bring you so much perspective because yesterday I woke up at 9:15, I was kind of bummed. And then I found out that last June 7th, 2020, I woke up at 1 a.m. and then I slept in until like 5 p.m. That is ridiculous. That is insane. So it made every single thing I did yesterday like a win. It really did. So that perspective is amazing. And the reflection too. A lot of the stuff I've been sharing is just kind of me and what I'm doing. But you guys have your ideas and perspectives that I would encourage you to pursue and to try new things too. Looking back at journals has been really cool, just with new perspective. Every single time you look back can give you new perspective. Just like with scriptures or a really good book, you can look back and be like, all right, different things stand out and it's super, super useful. So I guess in short, the three things that we talked about was the need to take care of yourself, trying new things, getting out of my shell, and overall just enjoying the journey more and knowing what I really want and going after that. Because it's really easy to just kind of settle and move along and people say you're doing okay. And I think that's honestly a really big danger in business. You could be doing super good, but you still want to keep learning and moving forward. And people are like, oh no, but you've already done enough. But there's always things you can try. There's always things you can do. And not necessarily grind like crazy to figure the thing out that you're doing, but pursue your curiosities. If you are like, well, maybe we should try a podcast or maybe we should do video, actually try those things out. Don't let it just kind of sit in your brain thinking. Like if you think of like this little guy in your brain, just kind of thinking, I mean, that's great and all, but he needs to go do something at some point. He needs to wake up the cranium or something. But I don't know. That's what's on my mind right now. I'm excited for the next year. It's kind of weird to think that I am this old now. I'm 25, but it can only get better from here. And I've been telling myself that my best days are still ahead of me, and I believe that, and we're going to live like it. So things are going to get better for sure with the podcast, with life, etc. A lot of it just definitely just comes down to that action and the intention and those little actions and the person you end up becoming from those. On Thursday, I'm planning on dropping an episode about making your own podcast because I think that there's people that would like to do that are in my audience. So I'm going to be doing that. And honestly, a big birthday gift to me was if you were just started up that thing that you've been wanting to do that you haven't tried, even just take one tiny little step, it will bring you beyond zero, and that's pretty cool. That's to be applauded. We all have to start from somewhere, even if it's really, really rough. With that all said, thank you so much for listening. I hope this was helpful for you in some way. And I will see you next time with another podcast episode. Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget to yield today, and it will be a better tomorrow.